The diversity of life on Earth is magnificent. Millions of species grow, flower, fly, and hurry up across the planet. So, where did all of these feathers, fur, and fins come from?
Oh, hey, sorry, it is just me, but I kind of thought the story needed a David Attenborough voice. Anyway, let's go find out. Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
There are so many different animals on Earth. Some are microscopic, some are as big as elephants. What is a species?
So it's a great question. We have a whole scientific system of classifying living things. It's called taxonomy. And in that classification, the smallest, most specific part of it is the species.
The definition of what makes a species is a little complicated. And sometimes there's disagreement over which species an organism belongs to. But basically, it's a group of organisms that can reproduce, that is, make babies, share characteristics that make them look pretty similar, and share a majority of DNA.
Most often these days, we are looking at DNA. Sometimes when you look at bodies, it's what we call subjective. So I might have a different view to the way something looks, to the way that you might look at something. But DNA is a very clear scientific method to be able to use to look at relatedness of things.
Okay, so that's a species. But I still have a few more questions.
Now, Steve, I think I know what a species is now, but clearly there's lots of them, so how did we get so many species?
This incredible diversity of species came to us through the process of evolution.
The idea of evolution has been around for a long time. In the 18th century, this guy, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, theorised it was caused by animals changing over the course of their life. So, a giraffe stretching its head to reach leaves high up on branches would lengthen the bones and muscles in its neck and then pass those changes on to its babies. And this was how we had so many different looking animals and plants. He was kind of right, but not quite there. About 50 years later, Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace came up with the theory of natural selection. They recognised that within a population of animals, each individual is slightly different. And some of those differences will mean that animal is better at surviving in its specific environment. It might be a slightly skinnier beak that's good at picking up insects, or a slightly stronger beak that's good at cracking nuts, or a slightly longer neck that's good for eating hard-to-reach leaves. Those animals are then more likely to eat and survive and have babies with skinny beaks or strong beaks or long necks too. Over a really long time, those tiny changes can become big changes in the population and give rise to a whole new species.
Take, for example, an animal moving into a cave environment. If they have an ability to smell their environment much better, then they're going to be adapted better, they'll find their food and they'll survive and reproduce. Evolution is the incremental changes in DNA over time, and it can evolve into new species because of that adaptation to a new environment.
Right, I think I understand the process, but I want to know how a species actually gets its name, so I think I can find someone. Ben, how are ya?
I'm good, Cal. Welcome.
Thank you. Now, I've just found out about how species evolve, but how does a species become a species?
Well, for a species to actually become an official species, it needs to be formally described. So there's a complete process that we follow to do this. So the first thing we have to do is actually discover these species. So this can be done by either collecting them out in the field in the environment, or actually finding specimens that are stored in natural history collections like museums. We then closely and carefully examine the material, and we then check its identity. So we compare it to all of the known species species to make sure that it's different. And from there, we need to prepare a species description. So we write a really detailed description which describes all of its morphological characters. We have images of the specimen. We often will also include DNA data. And from there, we submit it to a scientific journal where other experts review that species description and then approve it as a new species. So from that point, you have a new species.
Now, Ben, I'm looking at the specimens here and some of them are in red boxes. Is that something special?
So in our collection, these red unit trays, these boxes, actually represent type specimens and holotype specimens.
A holotype is essentially the reference point for an entire species. So it's the original specimen that the species was first described from. And museums and universities all over the world will have holotypes as reference points.
And it allows future researchers to come back and examine that species. But I do have a treat that I can show you, so let's go to another part of the collection.
Okay, let's do it.
And here's the specimen.
Here's the specimen. Ben, I think I know what this is, but could you explain?
So this is a holotype specimen of a species of wasp that was actually collected by you, and it's the only specimen that's ever been collected of this species.
There you go. It's even got my name on it. So does that mean I can just take it in my pocket and head off?
Well, we're actually going to keep it here at the museum and we're going to look after it, but it's going to stay here so other researchers can come and actually look at it, examine it, and check other species against it.
So are we still describing and discovering new species?
All the time. So although we've described about 1.2 million species across the whole world, there's an estimated about 8.7 million species in total. So that means there's a huge number of things still to be discovered. Even in groups that are relatively well studied, like mammals and birds, new techniques which allow us to look at their DNA or examine their populations has allowed us to actually discover new species there.
Yeah, new species are being discovered all the time. And not just by me. And it can be up to museums, like the SA Museum, that has more than 3 million specimens within their collection, to keep a record of life on Earth.
This is a specimen of katydid that was collected from Kangaroo Island in 2023. It's important because in 2019 Kangaroo Island had extensive bushfires across the island. The museum staff in 2023 went back and surveyed fire-sensitive areas, and this is one of the specimens they found that exists in that area. So we know if there are future fires and do obliterate those areas, we know what did occur in that area.
So it's almost like a stock take of the different species that were in a particular place, and having them at the museum, we know what existed and where.
Absolutely, and that record will never die, and people can come back and actually study the specimens even if that no longer exists on the island.
Well, I think I've learnt enough for one day. I need to go have a lie down. Whew.